Welcome back to Module 4, Culture. I'm going to talk a bit about what culture is and how we can change the culture around us. First, where we are included does not mean we belong. Some of us may be included in families that are challenging, where we don't feel we belong. Maybe we're in a work setting where we are there to work, but we really don't feel like we belong to the community. Maybe some of us, when we walk into communities in society where we are included, but maybe we don't feel like we belong because we are of a different race, ethnicity, or we have a disability. We must do more to integrate ourselves and to be vulnerable and to help the children that we serve be more integrated so that they can eventually belong to that community. We must partner with community members around us and bring them on board to help support the child or even ourselves. Also, if we do not partner, we cannot change the culture. We can't do it by ourselves. So let's look a bit at how we can go about making those changes. First, as Crown Apple and Cobb state, we must feed the soil. Otherwise, the roots cannot take nutrients to the plant. So what are we feeding the soil within our schools? Are we excluded? Is the plant excluded, the roots? Have we integrated? Have we segregated? Or have we excluded the nutrients that our plant needs in order to grow? I want to clarify climate versus culture. We often use them synonymously. However, they're quite different. The climate is how do the people feel within your community versus the culture, the things people do. So the climate and culture together creates our school environment. So think about those terms, climate, culture, environment, and how often we have used them interchangeably. But yet, per Crown Apple and Cobb, how unique each of those words are, and that we need to carefully analyze them and use them appropriately. Do we accept all and love all? Not just those we like, those we connect with. The student or peer who irritates us, is demanding, is disruptive. Do we take the time to accept and love them? The challenges often bring out our own brokenness, our own inability to help, or our lack of desire to help. But these challenges, they do help us to be more Christ-like each day. Yet in our leadership role, you have been given power by your school, so use it to create communities of belonging. In special education, we wonder if I embrace and fight for those children, will I be rejected by others? Fear of what our heart tells us. We are fearful of loneliness, so we conform. Children with disabilities remind us that we have all sorts of shortcomings, as we cannot fix them. Those we exclude all have gifts that we need to make a part of our community. It's not about serving, it's about receiving. To give is to receive. When do children with special needs get to give? They often get help from their peers, they get help from their teachers, but when do we give them the time to give back? When are their hearts fed and strengthened? Where can we be safe in our own vulnerability? Stories of transformation. How do we sow seeds of hope for our students? We need to be more open, more human. We need to create common humanity. We need to know ourselves, or do we? Do we truly know ourselves? As Plato would say, know thyself. In serving, do we learn about ourselves? Do we learn about our limitations, our own brokenness? Do we fear those with disabilities because we have to change our lesson plans, work in cooperative groups? We have to change our routines. We have to remember that community is not perfect. Anderson tells us the opposite of peace is not war, it's fear. We must foster a collaborative culture of individualism and a sense of belonging. Do our classrooms reflect true society? It's that old adage in our schools of your kids versus my kids. Oh, the special ed kids belong to the special ed teacher. The general ed kids belong to my classroom. Discuss integration versus inclusion a bit as you work through our materials in this module. Integration can make a child stick out. However, does the child feel inclusion is worth it? When we place a child into an inclusive setting, do they stick out? And do you think that child enjoys being the one who sticks out among the crowd? Do they feel like they stand out as different? If so, the child might leave to belong elsewhere, such as gangs. Changing the environment, community. Do not just change within the system that is not working. The lesson plans, the seating charts, and accommodating. We have to change the culture. So first, as we jump into the assignments, reflect on what are you trying to fix. It's human nature for us to try to fix things. So discuss what are you trying to fix. Complete the dual language learners with disabilities. Take the IRIS assessment. Read Chapter 3 in Vanier, Chapter 4 in Crown-Apple and Cobb. Then read Belonging and Connection of School Students with Disabilities. Read Stigma, Acceptance, and Belonging for people with IDD across cultures. And then submit your assignment on using culture to create strategy. Let me know if you need anything. Enjoy Module 4.